Palms together, heart center. When you feel steady and comfortable, gently close your eyes. यस्त्यक्त्वा रूपमाद्यं प्रभवति जगतो अनेकथानुग्रहाय प्रक्षीणक्लेशराशिर्विषमविषधरो अनेकवक्त्रः सुभोगी सर्वज्ञानप्रसूतिर्भुजगपरिकरः प्रीतये यस्य नित्यं देवो हीशः सौभव्यात् सितविमलतनु योगदो योगयुक्तः Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gently bow your head down. Bring yourself to the class. Prepare yourself for the session. When you feel ready, gently lift your head up. Open your eyes. External eyes. Namo Namah Hare. Yes. We shall begin with Sutra number 29. Bhashyam Tatra Yoganganya Vardayante. What are these Yoganga limbs? Because you spoke in 1.12 about Abhyasa and Vairagya for a different kind of seeker. Then 2.1, the path of Kriya Yoga was mentioned for another seeker. Now, what is for the one who is in the Chitta Bhumi, which is at its lowest, who is neither Niruddha nor Ekagra, who is still Muda maybe? For what is to be done for that person? So these sutras are given. Please repeat after me. Sutra 29. Yama Niyama Asana.
Yama asana.
Pranayam Pratyahara Dharana Dhyana.
Pranayam pratyahara dharana dhyana.
Samadhayo Ashtau Angani.
Samadhayo
Ashtavangani. It ukara becomes vakara. Ashtau Angani. 8 limbs. Ashtau is 8. Ashtau Angani. Ukara and akar together becomes vakara. Ashtavangani. Yatha kramam anushthanam swarupam cha vakshayamaha. Now, 8 limbs of yoga have been listed here. This sutra does not explain in depth, but what does it do? Simply lists these down. Different texts of yogas only considered 6 limbs. Any other text of yoga, if you see, how many limbs do they consider? Only the 6 limbs. But Patanjali Yoga Darshan contains 8 limbs of yoga. So any seeker who studies any other text of yoga also has to study Patanjali Yoga Darshan for the complete 8 limbs. There is a small ukti here. I shall read that for us. Vikaram manasam yogo प्रत्याहारेण सर्वदा धारणाभिर्मनो धैर्यं ध्यानाद् ऐश्वर्यम् उत्तमं समाधयो मोक्षमाप्नोति त्यक्ता कर्मो शुभाशुभः. Not from Yoga Sutra, but this shloka comes from Vashishta Samhita, which says Vikaram manasam yogo pratyaharena sarvada. And even before that, what is added? asanena rujohanti pranayamena patakan. So if we look at the complete shloka, just close your eyes and listen to it. Asanena rujohanti pranayamena patakam vikaram manasam yogo pratyaharena sarvada dharanabhirmanodhairyam dhyanaadaishwaryam uttamam samadhayo mokshamapnoti tyakta karma shubha shubha. Uttam. So this comes from the highest text of yoga. Which is the highest text of yoga? Is it Patanjali Yoga Darshan? It is Yoga Vasishtha. Highest text of yoga is Yoga Vasishtha. But to understand that text, we must have studied the Advaita Vedanta. Yoga Vasishtha, highest text of yoga. And Patanjali Yoga Darshan, intermediate and advanced. It is also advanced, but is it the highest? No. So Bhagavad Gita and Yoga Vasishtha, primarily this shloka which I took, it was from Yoga Vasishtha, which talks about the 6 limbs. So what does this shloka say? Asanena rujohanti. Practice asanas for living a disease-free body. The goal of asanas is to remove every single seed of disease. Genetic work is done with the practice of asanas. If we say, who carries the disease in any family? It is the female body always. Always remember, any suppressed disease, any form of disease which comes from generation to generation is carried in the female body in its dormant form. So that makes it more important. She's the carrier of all genetic talents. Everything in the genes comes from the female. Even diseases. So although talents are shared by both of them, female is the carrier of genetic diseases. Therefore, she has to very, very importantly dedicate a large portion of her life to the practice of asanas. Asanena rujohanti. All the diseases are removed by the practice of asanas. If somebody is in pain, will such a person be able to meditate? No, it's not possible. If somebody is in pain, will such a person think of moksha or going beyond the ordinary experiences of life? Not possible. So asanena rujohanti. To remove or bring about a change in the genetics, especially when it comes to diseases, the practice of asana is prescribed like a doctor prescribes medicine. For the stretching and shuddhikaran of the nadis or energy channels, asanas must be practiced. Although we will see when one by one the limb is explained, we will see it in detail. We are only understanding the shloka now. Asanena rujohanti pranayamena patakan. With pranayam, the papa, smaller sins, papa punya, both, all my deeds, pranayam. With those, the sins and the good deeds done by me, both of them are nullified every day with the practice of pranayam. We must have seen before, pranayam was also known as prayaschitta. Prayaschitta is the redemption. That when you unknowingly hurt, when you apply kumbhaka, that is, you retain your breath, that is, you do not, it's like you stop life in that moment. Application of kumbhaka. When you hold antar kumbhaka or bahya kumbhaka, exterior or internal holding of breath, what happens in that moment when there is no breath? The roasting of papa and punya, good deeds and sins, most importantly, takes place. So pranayam is advised. When we study pranayam in detail, each of the limb we will see, pranayam is practiced every day for redemption of any sin done during the day. So pranayamena patakan vikaram manasam yogo pratyaharena sarvada. After pranayam, any fluctuations in the state of mind are removed by the practice of pratyahara. If the mind has been from morning till evening feeling very elated, very happy, then suddenly not feeling very happy, has been through any kind of fluctuations, constant up and down, high and low, every alternate day, how is it removed? By the practice of pratyahara. So, what does pratyahara do? It removes the senses from the sense objects, means it separates the sense and the sense objects. It takes our senses away from all the other objects in the world which the senses are attracted towards. Therefore, practice of pratyahara is helpful in what? Removing the fluctuations. More the objects keep changing, the state of mind will keep on changing. Dharanabhir manodhairyam. With the practice of dharana, concentration, manodhairyam, the mental strength increases. Doubtless state, no doubt, absolute no doubt towards the teachings which are received by me. So, confidence in myself and my ability to grasp whatever comes, once heard from the Guru, easily starts being absorbed. So that increases by what? Dharana. Bringing the mind from many objects to one object. Concentration. Then the shloka says, Dhyanad Aishwaryam Uttamam. And after dharana, the next limb, that is dhyana, Aishwaryam Uttamam. Different samadhis and different siddhis experienced. Aishwaryam. Joys, different kind of samadhis. Here taking reference to samadhis with the seed, sabija samadhi. So, whatever object I have taken as concentration, with that object, with that alambana, when I enter the state of samadhi, I start experiencing different psychic powers of the Aishwaryam. I feel complete and full. Samadhiyo moksham apnoti tyakta karma shubha shubha. And then in the state of samadhi, when I am finally free, I am able to attain samadhi, but I am also free from the yogic powers received. I finally don't want anything. Then, from the state of samadhi, kaivalya or moksha is possible. Says this text. Which text? Yoga Vasishtha, highest text in yoga, which is to be studied after the study of the last philosophy, Vedanta. So, this shloka, asanena rujohanti pranayamena patakam vikaram manasam yogo pratyaharena sarvada dharanabhir manodhairyam dhyanadaishwaryam uttamam samadhayo moksham apnoti tyakta karma shubha shubha. This tells us, gives a clear example of the 6 limbs of yoga, from asanas till the state of samadhi. But this sutra 29 talks about yama niyama also. But we began this sutra with this shloka from Yoga Vasishtha. Now let's see. In Mahabharata, in the Shanti Parva also, Vedeshu cha ashta guninam yoganam पूर्निषिणः अर्थात मनीषीगण वेदों में योग को अष्टांग कहते हैं. In the Mahabharata also there is a mention of 8 limbs of yoga. 2 texts where 8 limbs are mentioned. So not just the Patanjali Yoga Darshan, the limbs have been also mentioned in the different places. Asana removes disease. Pranayam reduces the papa. Pratyahara cuts or separates the senses from the sense objects. Dharana, concentration, removes what? Doubts and prepares the mind with complete strength, self-confidence. Dharana, there are 5 types of dharana. When we study dharana, we will see that in detail. Pancha prakara dharana, 5 types of dharana. Dhyana, highest Aishwaryam and different samadhis experienced, and in the state of samadhi, gives a moksha only when doesn't expect the fruit of action. So Yoga Vasishta actually says samadhi is attained with the seed along with dharana, but without the seed, that is when you're ready for the state of moksha, only it is known as samadhi. As per Yoga Vasishta, even you have attained the samadhi, but the seed of samadhi, the object and the subject, both are still separate, or the object is still there. The understanding of the object is still there. It is still taken as dharana. And samadhi is taken a state which is just prior to the state of moksha, where even the object dissolves. So, Sutra 29 has simply listed them for us. Let's move on to the next sutra, 30. Bhashyam Tatra. Ahimsa Satya Asteya
Ahimsa
Satya Asteya
Brahmacharya Aparigraha Yamaha
Brahmacharya Parigraha Yamaha
Ahimsa Satya Asteya Brahmacharya Aparigraha Yamaha
Ahimsa Satya Asteya Brahmacharya Aparigraha Yamaha.
Now, from this, the yamas have been explained one by one, each in detail. Let's see the bhashya and then understand the meaning. Tatra hinsa sarvatha sarvada sarvabhutanam vidroha uttare cha yamaniyama sthanamula sthiti paryataya tat pratipadanya pratipadyante tadavadat रूपकर्णेय वे उपनयोति तथा च उक्तम सकलवयं ब्राह्मणो यथा यथा व्रतानि बहुनि समादिस्तते तथा तथा प्रमादकृतेभ्यो हिंसा निदानभ्यो निवर्त मानस उत्तमो वावद रूपम हिंसा करोति. The first paragraph says, out of the yamas, the first one, that is ahimsa, is the most important. And the others are to facilitate the first, which is ahimsa. And not only yamas, even the niyamas facilitate the first one, which is ahimsa. If you recall, we had seen avidya and the others, which are born or out of avidya. Yes, in the kleshas. Similarly, when we look at ahimsa, the prayojana, the utility of the other yamas and niyamas are to help us complete ahimsa or non-violence to its fullest. So the other yama niyamas are supporting the one, or are for the completion, complete embodiment and practice of one. And which is that most important and the one? Ahimsa, non-violence. And how is this ahimsa? Let's see. Satyam yatharte vangmanase yatha drushtam yatha numitam tatha shrutam tatha vangmanescheti paratra swabodha sankrantye vaga ukta sa yadi na vichinna na bhranta va pratipadi na bhaved iti esham sarvabhuto upakaryam pravrittam na bhuto upaghataya yadi chaiva आप्यभिधीयमानां भूतो अपघातपरैव स्यान्न सत्यं भवेत् पापमेव भवेत् तेन पुण्यभासेन पुण्यप्रतिरूपेकेण कष्टं तमः प्राप्नुयुतः तस्मात् परीक्षस्य सर्वभूतहितं सत्यं ब्रूयात् स्तेयं शास्त्रपूर्वकं द्रव्याणां परतः स्वीकारणं तत्प्रतिषेधः पुनरस्पृहा रूपमस्तम् इति ब्रह्मचर्यं गुप्तेन्द्रियस्थोपतस्य संयमः विषयान् अर्जन रक्षण क्षय संग हिंसा दोष दर्शन स्वीकारणं परिग्रह इत्येते यमः. This sutra describes in detail all the yamahas one by one. Let's see what are they. So what did we see? Ahimsa. Ahimsa, the first, is the most important out of the yamas. And ahimsa or non-violence is being talked about primarily. Then it points us towards violence. How do we create violence? By thought, speech and action. Kaya, vacha, manasa. Thought, speech, action. So, to attain non-violence also, we will make use of these three: thought, speech, and action. Kaya, vacha, manasa. Not physically harming anyone, not harming anybody verbally, neither through thoughts. Out of the kaya, vacha, manasa, which is the one which is actually taken as hinsa or violence? One which is at the level of thought. So out of the thought, speech, action also, action little less, speech also similar, but thought is the most heaviest kind of violence, because the words and action are also born out of the thought of violence. So in my thoughts also, may I not harm. From the morning till evening, there must not be a single thought which may bring ill to someone because of me. Now, living a life in the philosophy of Jainism, the entire philosophy is taken basis ahimsa. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi, the greatest national leader in India, his entire philosophy was based on non-violence. That is ahimsa. So in Jainism, it's very, very strict. You have to be very careful. There is in the breath, by breath also you are not harming. So we've just taken kaya, vacha, manasa in Jainism through food. So they don't eat tubers, that is plants which are under the ground. Because many jivas are harmed when you unplug those or when you harvest those. So there are certain philosophies, especially the philosophy of Jainism, purely based on this first and most important yama, which is ahimsa. Now, when we look at yama niyama, what is the prayojana? What is the utility of yama niyamas? The seeker is going to enter the practice of yoga. Before entering, the seeker must be told about the prohibited activities and separated from the prohibited activities of yoga. So the role of yama niyamas is to separate the seeker from prohibited activities of the yoga. Take a moment, reflect. I hope you are able to understand. Prohibited activities. Activities which the philosophy of yoga does not support. Prohibited activities. So yama niyamas help the seeker stay away or divert from the prohibited activities before entering into the practice of other limbs, starting from asanas. And once such a new seeker, the very fresh yogi, just the beginner, is separated from the prohibited actions, what happens? the seeker naturally starts loosening the bondages of karma, because no unwanted karma is being created. So yama niyamas put a break, put a stop to fresh karmas to be created. Because if I have to pour knowledge, I have to pour water into a cup, and the bottom is not steady, it's not complete. If there is a crack, whatever I pour into it will flow away. So in order for that not to happen, the seeker is nicely taken and prohibited away from the prohibited actions. And because of that, what has happened now? There is a change in the karmic cycle. No karmas which are going to harm the seeker on the further journey are created. The karmic direction is diverted completely. Kaya, Vacha, Manasa means Gyan Indriya, Karma Indriya and Manasa. Thought, speech, action means what? Jnana Indriya, organs of action, and organs of perception along with the manas. Jnana Indriya, Karma Indriya, Manasa. Under Sattva, if you recall the Sankhya chart, you will see Jnana Indriya, Karma Indriya, Manas under Sattva. So Kaya, Vacha, Manasa takes care of all these three. Organs of cognition, organs of action, and mindful. Manusmriti mentions, Manusmriti is one of the important law books. Manusmriti, it mentions every day as I walk on earth, with my every step, I must follow ahimsa. That means even if I'm walking on earth, I must be so mindful that even the smallest of insect not being crushed because of my walking. Every step must be free from violence. Every step I take on this earth be free from violence, says Manusmriti. After ahimsa comes satya. What is satya? Satyam yatharte vang manase. Now, satya is truth in lokik or in day-to-day life. Truth is taken as what was seen was spoken as it is, as the truth. But Patanjali Yoga Darshan says truth must be the one, truth is the one which does not harm the other upon listening or hurt the other upon listening. You may be right, but if that right is criticism, if it is pointing the shortcomings of others, it is not considered as truth at all. So, when truth is spoken, it has listed down certain rules. If there are elders, okay, if the truth is spoken in front of the ones who are elderly to you, that means anybody you respect, or your guru, it must not in any form disrespect them. Elders, guru, and the one who study with you, all three. Like all of you are studying together in your Guru Bandhu or Guru Bhagini, all of you who are at your similar level and elders. So when you speak the truth, it must be taken into careful consideration that I am not disrespecting any of these three. And while I speak to the ones who are younger to me, I'm not criticizing them, even if it is the truth. What must not be there? Criticism must not be there. Or pointing at shortcoming must not be there. And while I'm speaking the truth for the third person who is unrelated to me in any sense, when I speak the truth, it must be in less words and it must be for the kalyana or good of that person. Only in that case I speak the truth. Otherwise, I choose to stay quiet. Only if speaking the truth is going to help that person, if the person is not close to me. So we take the famous example. Once Rishi is sitting in the forest and a cow's, young calf comes running and goes in a certain direction. Now this yogi sees 4 other people after few minutes running. And they meet this yogi and they say, Swamiji, have you seen a calf? It's escaped. And we're looking for the calf. In that moment, the yogi sees that these people don't look like the owners of the calf. That means either they are here to hunt the animal or take it away for some other purpose. So the yogi says, yes, I saw the calf. It went backwards. Now the calf has gone in another direction. But the yogi said, it is gone in some other direction. So have you seen the calf? The answer is yes. Which direction did it go? Direction was told the other direction. By this, what happened? The calf was also saved and the 4 people were saved by the sin of killing. So whenever we are speaking the truth, it must be truth. The answer was yes, the calf was seen. But how was it? Which was for the kalyana. So even when gurus, anybody, our teachers, especially the gurus, when they speak to us, whatever they tell us is to be taken as it is, absorbed. Because it is always for our kalyana. It is always for our good. Another example. In Mahabharata, Dronacharya. Mahabharata is the greatest war ever fought in the Indian subcontinent. Again, next year, the same planetary position is there in the world as it was during the time of Mahabharata. There are going to be political disturbances because the astrological position is same as that. Anyway, Mahabharata, when we talk about Mahabharata, the greatest war which gave us the teaching of Dharma and the teachings of Gita, in this war, Dronacharya, the teacher, the Pandavas, the Arjuna, the 5 brothers who are on the side of righteousness, due to some circumstances, they were fighting against their teacher. So imagine in the war, the teacher is in one side and the best of the students are at one side in order to serve the throne, the king. So somebody goes and in order to break the morale of the teacher who is in the war, says Ashwathama has died. Now Ashwathama is the name of the son, Drona. Imagine when you're on the battlefield and you listen that your son is no more, it is naturally going to weaken your spirit. So Dronacharya listens to this and to confirm it, asks Yudhishthira, one of the Pandavas, one who was known, Pandu means 5 brothers who are on the side of righteousness. So he confirms with the Yudhishthira, the eldest one, even if he is an opponent. He says, is Ashwathama no more? Because Yudhishthira was known to speak the truth. Now, Ashwathama, the son, is alive, but they also have to win the war. So Yudhishthira closes his eyes, and that day, elephant named Ashwathama is also laid down by the army. So that elephant has also lost its life in the battle. So he quickly recalls, oh, there was an elephant with the name of Ashwathama who has passed away in glory in the battle. So instead of saying no, he says yes. Why? Because even if it is the teacher, even if the teacher asks, he's not lying. But the truth is in different context. So it was actually a sin occurred by Yudhishthira. Therefore, he was shown it is said that he was shown the gates of Naraka, the darker side after death, before eventually moving on to heaven or hell as you call it. He was shown the darker side. He was not taken inside the dark doors, but he was shown what it looks like for this sin. What was the sin? Ashwathama, elephant, Ashwathama, son of the teacher. When the teacher asked, has Ashwathama passed away? Because he wanted to win the war, he said yes, because that day the elephant had also passed. So, such is the utility and carefulness we must abide while we practice the second yama, which is satya. So, practice of truth which causes violence is nullified as truth. You can write one line here. Harsh words causing fears in other is not considered as truth, even when it is harsh words which cause fear in the other. Truth which inflicts the quality of tamas, which means after listening to the truth, the other person is propelled towards a tamasic action, again not considered as truth. And please know, why are we studying this? Because it is also taken as proof of knowledge, verbal testimony. Pramana, pratyaksha anumana, and also which is verbal testimony. Aptavachan. So verbal testimony has to be truthful. That means the verbal testimony has to be devoid of all these. Not to speak bluntly or pointing people's shortcomings is also hinsa. Pointing somebody else's shortcomings is hinsa, whoever it is. Also, we see greatest quote coming from Ahimsa, Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, highest Dharma, Ahimsa. And Satya helps us abide by that Dharma. Ahimsa Paramo Dharma. we will pause here for today. Yes, we can take questions. Hari Om.
Really, then what happened during the battle of Ramayana and so in the events where Ram versus Ravan, that whole action of the battle itself is considered and it's used as an example. So in that situation, there is ahimsa or not? I don't know.
Who is in the battle? Like Arjuna was the king, Lord Rama was also the king, and in one way, dharma had to be established. So when you are in the battle, even when it's an enemy, killing is the last resort. No, you are not supposed to kill the enemy. Therefore, Ram and Lakshmana, where did they come? To Rishikesh, the temple near Triveni Ghat. The moment after Ravana's death, they start their prayaschitta from here. They seek for forgiveness because the river Saraswati that time flew from here. So in the flight of river Saraswati, so it is said they came through a Vimana, that is Pushpak Vimana. They came flying over to this part, and from here they started their prayaschitta, redemption. So even Lord Rama, who's said to be the incarnation and also the king, for him also killing was the last resort. Therefore, he gave many, many chances. In fact, in the war of Mahabharata also, we see it was sent to Duryodhan. Lord Krishna, speaks to Duryodhan. He says, okay, don't take the entire kingdom to yourself. Give half or whatever you wish to the Pandavas. Let's not fight the war. So Duryodhan says, no, I'm not going to give. Okay, Krishna says, okay, give 5 villages. They are 5 brothers. Give them 5 small villages. Instead of fighting the war, they're okay with that. You settle on to 5 villages. He said, no, what 5 villages? I will not give a single inch of the land. And after that, the decision was taken to fight the war. So, the king was the one who avoided violence. Why? Because violence, ultimately, any kind of war is heavy on the subjects. Even in India, for example, we had the Kargil War, 1999. 10 years after the war, we paid tax for the war, Kargil tax. So any country which goes through war or violence, who takes the burden of that war? The citizens. So any king who goes towards violence, who is going to bear the brunt of it? The subjects, their families are destroyed. Mental health, war has a heavy price. So hinsa is always the last resort. But if there is adharma, dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge. Whenever there is harm, collective harm, or any action which is done, which is going to shake the consciousness of the society, in that moment, the use of violence is required to set everything at peace. But even the greatest king like Lord Rama had to do the redemption, prayaschitta, sadhana for killing the opponent, that was Ravana. I hope your answer you have found. Yes. Ji,
Ji, when you were talking about Satya, when you were explaining Satya, back of my mind, one same incident was going on. The same story my mom had told me many years ago, Ashwatthama, and it was going on. And then you you gave us that example. So, ma'am, I have one question. Then, if what he said was the truth only, I know in a different way, but then why was he shown Narkadwa? That question always stays.
Guru asked him, no?
He,
Guru trusted him and Guru asked him. So what did we see? The truth When it's the elders, should not cause them hurt or disrespectful. So even if he spoke the truth, it did cause hurt.
So
So it
when
doesn't mean you should keep mum. It does not mean that you should also keep quiet. Then that is the biggest harm that you're doing. Therefore, we have in the philosophy, Nyaya philosophies, different philosophies which tell us how to speak the truth. Like, for example, Nyaya, one of the philosophies, tells us how many words to use and how to use the words in a diplomatic way. If you have to argue, how to argue? What is the logic to be used? For example, when there was a mistake which had to be rectified, for example, by a king or a guru, and they would call the ministers saying, the king would call them saying that, such and such crime has happened by my hand. Imagine some sin being incurred by the king, and king is accepting it, saying so and so has happened by me. What should I do to redeem or redemption? So in those cases, even the ones who were the advisors of the king, they never said, okay, you should do this for redemption. They said, previously, when such incident had taken place, that person was told to do this for redemption. So how did they put it across? Because the king is known to be patron, father. So they don't say, okay, by as per the law book has written what is the punishment even for the king. But how do they say, the last time when such so and so king in any of your lineage or any other lineage had done such kind of mistake, so and so sin was incurred and so punishment was given. So whenever you are in an advisory role, whenever you are supposed to speak the truth, you speak the truth with relevant examples. And which examples you take? Examples of the scriptures of or lives of highest people. Therefore, whenever even in 300 hours, the first thing I ask students to do is to study the life of the yogis. Moment you study the lives of yogis, moment you study the lives of the greatest of people, you observe that they also may not be free from mistakes. But how did they overcome it? When mistake was done by somebody who was higher than them, maybe their guru or parents, how did they bring about a harmony? Therefore, the study of the lives of yogis and greatest of spiritual men and women are to be closely studied. They give us insights onto how to be on the path of Satya, truthfulness with ahimsa. Satya cannot be alone. Satya has to serve the utility, the purpose of ahimsa, non-violence. Otherwise, it is nullified. And Satya also has to be spoken. You cannot keep quiet. So imagine you cannot even keep quiet upon asked. And also it must not cause violence. Sometimes people overshare without being asked. Listen to very carefully what question is being asked to you. And what is asked, only answer that. It will save you from violence. It will help you from not lying. It will help you be established in truth. So what is asked to me? Very, very carefully one must listen to it. No extra words. Moment you make use of extra words, either it's going to cause hinsa or it is going to be untrue. You might end up fabricating or, falsehood will come in what you speak. Ji, Lisa ji, you have a question.
Yes, it's a very daily life question, actually. We are speaking about Satya and not harming anybody. And actually, it's something that it goes in my mind since months. In the house, when we live with our family, husband, wives, this is very hard because sometimes really easy things for organizing the life, daily life, has to be spoken and sometimes harm our partner. So this is something really, it goes in my mind since months. How can we speak the truth in that case with somebody that we see every day, and so that triggers us more than everybody else, without harming them? This is hard, and I would like your suggestion.
Yes, yes. So, what is your bhava, state of emotions? Are you saying those words out of anger or compassion? For example, a child is running towards some animal, it's a snake on the ground. Father gives a tight slap, picks up the child, says few words and keeps the child aside. Words are spoken, but violence is not done. Why it is not done? Because inside the heart there is deep compassion and love. So even words may be harsh in that moment, the state of mind is not causing hinsa or violence. So father picks up the child, puts it aside. So when you speak the truth with your family members, first, it should not make them feel criticized, and sometimes let them bear the consequence of the mistake. Person who makes a mistake and is guilty, when a person is guilty of something, your advice is best suited in that moment. So allow them to suffer sometimes because of their mistake. Be protected. Ensure the suffering doesn't go beyond hand. But some suffering has to be taken by them, and then when they're quiet and they know what mistake has been done, that is the time when you speak with. This is one way we can follow. And second, if you have to make use of harsh words, they should not be from anger. What we end up doing, because of their past mistakes, we carry all of that in the heart and we explode like a volcano. They pour as though we are alive. Fire, they keep on fueling, we become fire. They keep on fueling, the fire goes on increasing. Be extremely calm. Again, the child goes towards the fire, for example. Father will pick and put aside. Same words used 10 times. But in the heart, there will be deep love and compassion. So make use of those words, limited words. Anger, or when you have to say something strictly, it is good sometimes. If you start making use of it every day and regularly, it will not be valued. So anger should never be your first, it should not be a response. By anger in English, it's a little confusing. Your harsh words must never be the first response, it must be the last response. That means your family and your loved ones should not see you often responding in anger, but sometimes responding or using harsh words.
Thank you.
Yes. Jiran. Very nice.
You are a mother of 10-year-old or 11-year-old.
You're forgiven already. You're forgiven. I told you, if you're a mother, you're forgiven. Don't worry about that. She specifically asked about relationships and other family members. As a mother, as a parent, you are forgiven. Because your intention cannot be doubted at any point. I hope today's session was helpful for you as an entry into yamas and niyamas. We will unfold them more beautifully together. And this is easy to understand. All the sutras will also go quickly from here. Because you have already at least once heard them from me before. So it will be easy for you to understand, and all of you are practicing. That's why I congratulated all of you at the beginning of class that true to this day, you're not only into the physical practice of yoga, but in equanimity of mind. You're taking yourself every step by Shravana. We meet again tomorrow at the same time and continue. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namo Namah.